Hey everyone, I'm Michelle. Welcome to today's episode. I'm talking about today, it's January 25, and how to set aligned intentions for the year. I just see so much online. I think there has been a shift online this year um, about New Year's resolutions and, new year, new me, that kind of vibe, like taking on how much can I possibly change about myself in one go, and then let it all fall apart by the end of January. And how this year I just noticed I had such a different mindset on it. Over the last couple of years, have really started making changes. I Everything I did was kind of based on external results and how it looked, or how, not consciously, maybe consciously, maybe unconsciously, but how achieving certain things that society or that are just conventionally deemed achievements. And I kind of got to the top of that ladder, like career, and even body goals. I look back to 2019, and I kind of was in good shape, which is like for me, maybe not to other people's standards, but yeah, and how you're still not happy, that you've got everything that you thought you wanted, or that you were, was the goalpost. And then it was like always the more, 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 like not taking the time, not being able to celebrate yourself, or you kind of still don't get the feeling that you think you should get. So I'm talking about how to set intentions or goals this year and going forward that are more in alignment and will make you feel better, in the way it matters, so in all senses, emotionally, physically, and mental health wise. And also, kind of, when I say spiritually, I just mean I spent a lot of my life feeling that something wasn't right for me and ignoring it. And I feel like that was my soul. I don't know what it was, because I always like to give credit, but I saw something the other day, and it said something that they call soul erosion. And I was like, oh, that's exactly how it felt to be so out of alignment. Because now, even though I'm more conscious, I've worked on all these things, I feel so much more balanced and happier in myself, and kind of knowing myself, and also knowing how I feel. I feel like back then I didn't know how I actually felt. I had a lot of feelings that I didn't know how to process and things, and they would come up at the wrong time, or else I suppressed a lot of my feelings, those times where you felt like you should be happy and I wasn't that happy. That was as a result of having a lot of big feelings that I also shut down. And you can't just suppress or repress one emotion or energy without suppressing the lot. So although I was pushing down, say, sadness, shame, anger, whatever, I was also pressing down happiness, joy, hope, things like that, and which then leads you to always trying to do more, and be more to achieve something, because you can't feel it, but you're never going to get there if you haven't actually processed your emotions and allowed yourself to feel, or feel safe to feel, and kind of go back and process old emotions that you haven't. But if you haven't processed those, then no matter what you achieve outside of yourself, whether that's in career or your body or whatever, if you actually don't feel safe to feel, believe me, you're not going to feel happy when you reach that goal. You'll get a temporary, probably dopamine hit, and then it'll just be on to the next thing, or something will come up that won't allow you to properly enjoy your achievement. So instead of making goals based on what you think you should do, or you should have achieved, or think you have to do, or what you think consciously or subconsciously other people want you to do, be, have, um, I want to talk about what will actually bring you the most balance and contentment, and what this looks like. What this looks like then in your life is better health, better mood, relationships, better relationship with your body, with others. And in the end, when you come back into alignment, your brain rewires. So you actually start to move towards and get what you truly want, instead of what you think you should want, or what you think, you know, that society ladder where you go to school, go to uni, you graduate, you get the job, you have the, career, then you meet the person and you buy the house and you have the baby, that thing, um, is for you. That could be your alignment, like that could be actually your trajectory. But I think for a lot of people, it doesn't have to look like that. But because they think they have to do that, they kind of get there and they're like, why don't I feel like, yay, I've got this on paper, but inside it all just feels a bit like not right, soul erosion that's just going on. Or if you're really out of alignment, it'll show up in your physical. So this is the way things, again, this alignment stuff works, is it will show up as feelings and emotions and kind of like emotional outbursts, or yeah, just this like feeling, or unwanted situations in your environment, reflecting back to you kind of what you feel inside. Friendship groups or something like that that aren't in like alignment, you don't actually want to be in them, you may keep having like issues with those friends, or you'll people please just to fit in and stuff, but you're coming home and you just feel like, ugh, that didn't really raise my vibe. I don't really feel good after that, yet these are my friends. Same with your job or whatever. It's asking, does this give me energy, or is it actually taking my energy? Because if your career or your job is actually for you, even though there's times, in life you ebb and you flow, like there's busy times and you should be more tired, but if it's something that is consistently draining you, causing you anxiety, that you just feel like this is not it, then it's probably not. For a long time, yeah, I chased those goals, all of the things, and when I got there, I was not only not happy, but because I just didn't listen to those signs, those whispers, they call it, the whispers, like just the emotion, I like chronic anxiety, and just always needing bigger things to like fill the gap, then like bigger holidays, more clothes, more stuff, like more distraction basically from the thing that's actually not working. Whereas if you take that away, you actually don't need a lot of the other stuff, because you can be happy with like the simplest of life. And that doesn't mean that travel, like that's definitely, one of my things. I love to travel and things like that. It doesn't mean that you don't buy nice clothes, or you'll be like a monk, the Buddhist, and shun all material things. It's not even like that, but it's also about being happy and fulfilled despite them. Like, as in, you don't need them, but they're nice to have. They're just a bonus. It's just a bonus in your life. Um, Body wise, oh yeah, my health like deteriorated. Chronic anxiety led to like hormonal issues. I've always kind of had those. And eventually, yeah, I got to that point where I just burnt out. And then the burnout led to depression, because that's what it is. Your body just shuts down. I'm going to do another episode on depression, because I feel it's something that's really misunderstood. For a long time, I resisted even talking about it, because I had this like perfectionist tendencies that I didn't want people to see, like the low points, like only all the highs, and only all seen as achieving something or being productive or being good, good enough, things like that. And the more I've kind of at that time like experienced depression, and then um like studied it when I went into nervous system regulation, and also just being way more intuitive with my body and listening to like my emotional intelligence. It took me a long time, you're welcome, of me going through what my mentor Sophia calls like the wormholes, when you decide to level up, or not even level up, I would say align, when you decide to level your life and stop listening to what everyone else says or what you should do, and asking yourself, what do I want, like what do I actually want to do, you kind of get what's called like initiated. So anything that doesn't align has to go. And all those, the thing is, everything's energy, and anything you've been scared to feel, or any of these illnesses and stuff that you've maybe had for months, years, your whole life, kind of a thing, they've got to go, but they've got to come up. You have to feel it to heal it, and it has to, everything's energy. If it's stored in your body and you consciously make a decision, I'm actually sick of my own shit here. like, this is not me. Like, I know life gets to be better than this. When you decide that, your body's like, oh, I'm so glad you said that. Now, here's like 30 years of like, trauma in your body. We have to release this if we want to, you can't go there as the same person who's here. So we need to actually feel these emotions. We have to learn these skills. We need, because the person who has this life and feels this way, they're not carrying around all this shit. They're not carrying it around. They're not still believing old limiting beliefs. They're not still subscribing to other people's thoughts and conditioning and things like that. The people pleasing has to go, the perfectionism has to go, the thinking you're not good enough has to go, the thinking it can't happen for you has to go, the thinking you have to do, be, or have something that you truly deep down don't want or need or desire, then you have to like let that go. And that getting depression and deciding like, I'm not going to stay here. Like I unsubscribe. I unsubscribe. And I want to be happier. I want to actually do something that I want to do. I want to, yeah, get out of anything that I feel like that is like weighing me down or causing me all this anxiety, whether that be, sometimes it's just like your perception. So I will share a lot on perceptions and things like that completely changed my mind, and now I use daily, weekly, and it just completely turns around any if you've got relationships, like the way people interactions with people that you take it one way, but maybe that's not true. It's your nervous system is wired at the moment to be in threat, so you're perceiving everything as a threat. And what else could that mean? What lesson is here for me, rather than taking it personally and projecting or like retreating, is what our nervous system will do, as instinctual, and instead learning to respond to things instead of like react or act the victim or lash out at people or things like that. Basically like unwanted behavior patterns that you're like, why do I do that? I don't want to do that. All these signs and symptoms, you can look at your relationships, your career, your finance, your body, your health. All of these leave little like breadcrumbs as to what's not in alignment, like what feels good in my life and what doesn't feel good. And instead of taking intent, signing up to F45 and starting whole new regimes, it's like, actually, shouldn't we start with the foundations? I feel like that would be much more helpful, because I feel like I built like all these things, and I was on shaky foundations. I was on shaky foundations. So the minute any stress came on top of that, for me, it was like having, when it was just me, I would do things, anything that was out of alignment. I just keep doing it and doing it. And then I'd be like, I need like a 3-week holiday. And then I go away in the 3-week holiday, and it's like, why can't my life just feel like a holiday? Why do I need a holiday from my life? That's a question for you. If you constantly feel like you need to get away, that's actually a stress response, like trauma nervous system response, I should say, is because that's a flight. There's fight, flight, freeze, and always needing a holiday or always just need getting away and things like that. That's actually a flight response, is needing to get away from your life. Sometimes, you need a break and things like that. But if that's your pattern, if you work to almost burn out and then you need a holiday, it's like, that's not a life, that means you're in survival mode for like most of the year. And then you're still in survival mode on holiday because you're actually in like flight and like shun all my responsibilities, like can't message people back, just in total light, wanting to hide, get away, run away from my life. So anyway, when you start addressing these points in your life, and doing things to like iron out those kinks, you start feeling everything that you're trying to get from external things by climbing the corporate ladder or buying all this stuff or on your holiday. What you're looking for, what you as a person is looking for, is for the feeling. So for me, and these feelings for me coincide a little bit with like my values. One of them is like freedom. I just wanted like peace. My whole life I've been like so anxious, like so up and down in emotions, but like not processing them, just like shutting them back down. And of course, this is like no wonder I had anxiety because I had all this energy inside and I just was not feeling it. I was not like processing it and I was not like reassuring my body. It was seeing everything as a threat. I didn't realize it at the time. Loads of videos on the nervous system, but I will talk about it more when you start, like I said, looking at the foundations and addressing them. You start to get those feelings from just day to day life, like the freedom, feeling at peace within yourself and feeling at peace within life and your relationships and just contentment. They say like that happiness is a trap because it's the thing is with depression and everything like that, it's going to come and go. Okay. Especially if you're like an emotional person, which I deemed as like bad for ages. And it's like, it's not bad. You're just more empathetic, more highly sensitive. And the world needs people who are less sensitive and they need people who are sensitive because the sensitive people are the people who can attune to people's emotions. They're very good at healthcare and connection and nurturing and arts and like meeting, like seeing what people need. Whereas the less sensitive people actually can go, I don't know, I'm thinking back to like primal times. They can go like kill stuff, probably not feel bad about it. Where whereas all the empaths would be like, oh God, I can't do it. They might have been more better at the cooking and gathering than the killing. There's more to it than that, but basically what I'm saying is society that we're actually all like different levels of sensitivity. And the people, if anyone's into like human design, there's also I'm an emotional authority. So the thing is, my emotions were like really telling me, like everyone has that, but for me that is literally how I'm meant to like make decisions and decide on what I want to do and what I don't want to do is like feeling the emotion, letting it ride out, and then coming back to balance. Equally, when I'm on high emotion, when I'm like feeling really like jazzed and buzzed, I like just take that in, but I make my decisions when I come back into basically contentment. Because when you're really happy, there's still like a charge. Sometimes it can like, not that it's wrong to be really happy. I'm just saying that you're not exactly what we call like level headed. And it's okay to like be in the waves. And for me, I make decisions and things like that from the level place, not when I'm feeling down, or the few days before my period, like not a great time for decisions. But equally when I'm feeling like really excited about something, you get that. Have you ever made, the people, it's like when you make plans, um in your ovulation and then regret them in your luteal or like around your period, you're like, why did I do that? And that's because ovulation makes us a bit more, we get a bit more excited, we're really like social, we're like, yeah, I'll do that, at work, committing to everything, committing to all the social events, and then you like afterwards like, why did I am not in that vibe. So um like I said, that's human design. So you probably have a different authority, which again is just how you make decisions. But for all those emotional waves, when you're younger and you're like you think your emotions are bad, or you have the perception that they're bad, you shut those down, and that's like how you make decisions. So no wonder I ended up on the wrong path. I didn't know who knows where I was making my decisions from, because I definitely like didn't know how to read my emotions, or didn't know that they were like an asset to me. Sometimes it feels like not, like nobody wants to feel the bad feelings, but that is just the cyclical nature of life. And the minute you can let go of the meaning you're making out of what it means to be, is, I'm just going to go back to like depression, that made it worse because I was attaching, if I was feeling depressed, then I was weak, then I was failing, then I was bad, then I was useless, like as in, oh, these are all things that your thoughts will come up when you feel that feeling in your body. It's attached to then your thoughts. So state dictates story, so the state in which your body is. So I was burnt out, so my my nervous system was in what's called shutdown response, and then that shutdown response dictates my thoughts. And if I can't detach from my thoughts, which at the time I couldn't, I was like believing them. Whereas now, because of the work I've done, I can feel those feelings. Sometimes I can feel down, have a down day or whatever, but it's like I can hear those thoughts and I don't believe them. I just see it happening. I'm like, this is just my primal response. This is just my body protecting me. Thanks for protecting me. Great. But we actually don't, we're not doing this right now. We don't need to believe those thoughts. And I heard someone say yesterday, it's like your thoughts are like a bird, and the bird can come in and like land on your head, but it doesn't need to nest there unless you choose it. And why would you choose the bad ones? But that's what we do every day, is we choose the bad ones over what's called negativity bias, which is a survival response. But we're kind of living in this age where, we don't need to, maybe you are in a situation and that's different where it's like life or death. But for most of us, we're, thinking emails or comments somebody makes, we're taking it as like our bodies are taking it as life or death. And then that feeling in our bodies is creating our thoughts. And then instead of being like, okay, yeah, thank you for trying to keep me safe, but that is totally inappropriate, right? That is like not what's going on. Instead, we're like, oh my God, yeah, they hate me. They hate me. When it's like, is that true? I don't think it's true. What I'm saying is choose your goals, choose your intentions from like an aligned place and start with the foundations instead of like seeing somebody whose life looks perfect on Instagram and they're training for a marathon. And you're like, that's what I should do. Like, if that is not like aligned with you, or the same within your career, or how many kids you want to have. Is that how many you actually want, or is that how many like you just thought you think you should want? One thing I've learned about life is whatever you need to learn, it will bring up for you. It's right there in front of you. If when you want to start on the foundations, it's like whatever it is that you need to work on. If you set the intention, that you want to get healthier, or you want your relationship to improve, or you want to change careers, whatever it is, life will hand you that in front of you, but sometimes we don't want to do it that way, is what happens. So say it's like with your body, you're like, yeah, I need to improve my health, but you haven't really, you're trying to do it. You're like, oh, I'm just going to do what she's doing. I just have to go to the gym like 4 days a week. And then, like I'll take up running and then I'll get 10K steps and then I'll cut carbs because that's what I like see. And that's like, the structured way. And then, your body will actually throw up like an autoimmune thyroid. And like that's not it's not funny, but it's like that's how it works. It's like, oh no, you wanted to work on your health. I know you want to do all these things that people have told you to do, but actually this is what you need to address. And that is like, if we're talking thyroid, it's like completely, you're not, your body doesn't feel safe if you've got thyroid issues. There's something, your mind, emotions, toxins, your diet, whatever it is, your body doesn't feel safe. What you actually have to do, is look at how do I make my body feel safe instead of following. I know you just signed up for a like $500 fitness program at F45 or whatever it is, but actually that's not going to help you because you asked to be healthier or get fitter, but your body's like, oh yeah, we can do that, but you've got this issue though. I know you want to go that way, but you have to go this way in your health journey. And it's not that you can't have the body of your dreams and get what you actually want, consciously, but you have to go this way if you actually want it. And you can keep going that way, but your health's probably going to get worse. You might get your body, but your health's going to deteriorate. So, and that's what it feels like with career as well, want to feel like have the career of my dreams or something, and then you lose your job or like something happens, or you get pregnant just as you're about to get the promotion or whatever it is, and you're like, this is not the plan. And but maybe it is, because maybe you're in the wrong job or you're on the wrong trajectory. But life doesn't work at the same speed and it's not linear as opposed to like societal goals and expectations. Hope it's kind of helpful. And at the end of the day, it is going to work out, but we have to learn to choose, listen to our bodies, put ourselves first as women, because you can't pour from an empty cup if you're trying to do everything externally and for other people and because of other people, and you're letting your own needs in all those categories, emotionally, physically, mentally, spiritually, if they're all put to the wayside, then you're never going to come into alignment. There's always going to be something. There's always going to be something, or even if it's just that nagging feeling. But in my experience, it's never just the nagging, it's a nagging feeling. And then it turns into full blown, you know, like a life crisis, or mental health or physical health starts to like deteriorate. So that first step is taking inventory kind of your current life, like health, love, relationships, friendships, family, work. There's actually something you can Google it online called like the Wheel of Life, I think it's called. And it just has those topics, and you can go around and like mark them out of 10, like out of, how does that feel to you, or where are you out of, if 10 was perfect. There's no such thing as perfect, but you know, as in for you. Um, and going around those, and that's kind of the foundational work, before you start building, before we start really trying to reach all those like external things that, are typically associated with when we make goals. It's always something like outside of ourselves and big, and, instead of starting here. Sometimes it's not even just building, it's tearing stuff down, which is not comfortable. But that's where true growth and transformation happens, is when, because you, again, if you don't kind of backpedal sometimes or stop, you just keep moving forward in the wrong direction. An object in motion will like keep going and gain momentum. But if you're going in the wrong direction, then it's harder to come back. So sometimes it is about kind of backpedaling a bit, or releasing things, letting things go, what's not actually serving you. Graham, I saw it was like the further you go in the wrong direction, the harder it is to like course correct, or come back, and that's true, because you usually go down there and it causes a heap of other issues. With like, mine was obviously like health, when I like really burnt out. That was a whole journey in itself, and nothing's ever a mistake, it's always like a lesson. And if I hadn't learned that lesson, then I wouldn't be here feeling like I can really like help people with that. What started as the physical, like definitely with burnout, postpartum depletion, um like high and low cortisol, stress, could definitely help people with that. But then that led me into realizing that, again, was not a what's called like a root cause. The root cause was more like mentally and physically had been ignoring my body, and it's called not being like the grown up of myself, like letting my thoughts and letting my emotions like run the show, um and not like listening to my body and things like that. And learning all that has made all the difference. I feel like that was the root cause. But now it adds an extra layer as to what I can help others with, even more so, because now, although I could help them like physically, there was still something like that I just thought, oh, but what if I can't control? Not that I can control, it's not my responsibility to fix anyone, but I can be a guide, I can be a teacher, I can share my experiences, I can be a mentor. I can support and like hold people, but they have to, want to do it for themselves. They have to want to change, and they do the work. I just like help them because I've been there and I have experience and I have a lot of knowledge in those areas. But when I was just doing the physical, when I was doing like functional nutrition, I was definitely like, oh, I can definitely help people. But it was just like, oh, if this doesn't work, then they add this and they add this protocol and this. And it started to feel a bit like, the same as conventional medicine, like a pill for every ill. And I was like, this is not it. This is not it. And then incorporating, going back, taking things away and going back to the root, and with the trauma and the nervous system and self love and inner healing, inner child work, parts work, things like that. That's what made the difference is going back, is like, why is my body not feeling safe? Why is it running on stress? And dealing with that. As women, we are afraid to rest, though. We're afraid to stop. We drive our body and mind and spirit into the ground and usually wait until we crash and burn and reach rock bottom before we change. um Throughout, I'll be sharing my story. I waited a lot of years before I listened, but for those who like are burnt out, or they have burnt out and they're trying to realign and rebuild, they know something's like not working, but they want to rebuild it from like a better foundations. Okay, more self-love, more self-worth, doing things that are in line with them instead of everyone else, because that's easier said than done. Even when I decided, like, that's it, I'm like going to do things for me, like what do I want and stuff, I actually didn't know who I was. um which is like a funny thing to say, but I think a lot of people maybe can identify with that, is like not really knowing who you are without the world telling you, without people telling you, or your identity. I placed all my worth in the external things that I had built. And then when I, unsubscribed from those, or I let those go, or they were taken away, that was pretty hard to look at, because I had actually placed all my worth in those. And yeah, I felt like I had hit rock bottom. Like, who am I? Like, all these like negative thoughts about myself, or like, who am I now? Or, kind of, what am I worth? Or what good am I without these things? Um, and what it's all about is you putting all that self worth, all that value in you, and building from there. That's where you can go after the goals. That's where you reach things. But every step of the way, you feel content, you feel happy in yourself, you enjoy the journey. You're not constantly chasing something, because you already have everything you need. Even if all of it was taken away, you're still you. But I think a lot of us, and maybe it's not until your health reaches, you burn out, or you lose a job, or you get postpartum depletion, or something, that you realize like how shitty you feel, how shitty you feel when you don't have all these things, or a relationship breaks down when you don't have those things, and you realize you've been putting all your self-worth and in everything outside of you. Over time, you can learn from my videos, or you can work with me to learn and embody our like self-worth, self-love, deconditioning from who the world told you should be, or who you thought you had to be loved and survive, and instead taking your own power back and realizing you can do what you want. Nothing bad is going to happen, and I mean nothing bad in the sense of the world. You might lose people, you might have to let things go, but realizing that like when you have that power in yourself, it doesn't matter, because you're still standing. It can all fall away around you, but you're still there. Not that you fall with it, not that you crumble with it. These are like the foundations that I'm talking about. So being able to like meet your basic needs, like emotionally, physically, mentally, being there for yourself instead of always needing other people to do it for you, looking for validation from outside of you, um, choosing yourself, putting yourself first, which is hard as a mom, because we think we're meant to do everything for our kids. But believe me, it's so much better if you're also looking after your own basic needs too. They learn by watching you, not by what you say. They do what you do. Looking after yourself shows them how to look after themselves, and that they're worthy of looking after themselves, and that they matter, and their health matters, and their emotional health matters. And for example, when it comes to like physical needs, I'm a clinical nutritionist, and the noise in the health space is deafening. Not to mention the damage from like 90s, like cut out fats, zero zeros, like cutting out carbs and things like that. And marketing an economy that runs off basically telling women everything about them is wrong and they should change it, for the right price, of course. And we usually we pay that not just with money, but with our souls and our self-esteem. And when you become aware of that, yeah, it gets, you get angry. And that's okay to get angry. But if you've been somebody who has been pushing down your anger, it's a lot, it's a lot to take in when you realize um, how much you've been marketed at and like conditioned around what you look like and what they think you need to do. But what we actually, the way physically meet our needs is actually quite simple. But with a society like ours, it's not always easy. It's simple, it's not easy. And we try all these ways to like fix ourselves, buy things, special diets, thinking it needs to be hard, when actually paring it back is the best way to do it, but we don't believe it's too simple. And there's a quote by the naturalist E.O. Wilson, and he says, "We've got primitive bodies in a medieval society with godlike technology." That's the problem with humanity. And I've thought of something like that before even I read that, but when I read that, that really like stuck with me because our bodies are quite primal. It's like technology and society has evolved so quickly, but our bodies have not caught up. So we're basically primitive bodies living in this world that is so like fast paced and technology, and it's like messing with our bodies. And instead of us choosing, what to subscribe to or like how we can work in it, we're just trying to keep up with the rat race, even though especially for women's body, that's not how we work. It's like we are nature, we are cyclical, and there's no cyclicalness in this like technology. It's 24/7. It's like always productive. It's faster. Yeah, it's about like stepping off that treadmill, stepping off that rat race and being like, actually, I'm in charge of me. I am an adult. I'm going to do what's best for me instead of like keep chasing like this imaginary line that will keep getting further and further away as things progress. And we're at a point, I think, that like health, people's health, we're living longer, but we're more unhappy and our health is worse. So like, do you really want to be 90 and like crippled with pain or like mood disorders and things like this? It's like, no, it's like I don't want to live longer and like less healthy, um in all senses of the word, and also happy and fulfilled. Like, you think of on your deathbed, do you want to look back and be like, oh, I did everything that everyone wanted me to do, and will that make you happy? So also part of this, I mentioned it before, is kind of getting clear on your values and then making, going through what you do in life, or like how you live start with your day to day, like what are things you do in the day, and does each task actually align with these values? If you want help in this, if you feel like you want to make a change, there's something, that nagging feeling, or maybe you have those health issues. Maybe you're tired all the time, you're not sleeping very well, you've got these hormonal issues, mood issues, that your nervous system is just fried and you're reacting to everything, and you just either feel really like shut down and numb and you resonate with anything I've said. We can always work together one-on-one or in my group program, which I'm really excited about. I feel I've got to a point, yeah, that it's just like I just want to share it with other women. And of course, there's loads of free content here. So keep listening if you're interested, and please share it with anyone who would find it helpful. And also, if there's anything like you're interested in, anything I've mentioned, and you want me to talk more on it, please let me know. Feedback is always welcome, and I'd love to record things because I've got a few ideas on my own and I'll hopefully get guests on, but also I want to hear what you have to say, what you're struggling with, or what you would like to know to help you become the person you want to be, or have the health you want to be, or maybe there's just transitions in your life that you want help with. So let me know and I'll talk next time.